Hello and welcome to the Doctors Who podcast. My name is Chris.
I'm Chip.
And I'm Brian.
And today we're going to be continuing our discussion on Patrick Rothfuss's The Name of the Wind. This is actually our 7th discussion.
Wow.
Brian, Chip, and I were talking before you got here, and we're thinking this is probably going to run about 10. Because we're going to...
I think we have 13 chapters left after this.
Yeah.
Sure.
So...
And we're hitting about 10.
I mean, it's a nice even number.
Yep,
So,
that makes sense.
Yeah.
So now you know what you have to look forward to. And we're starting to talk about what we want to do next. So I tell you what, if you're watching this and you have an opinion, leave it in the comments below. I think we're talking about going right into book 2, A Wise Man's Fear.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked at some point about going into the Wheel of Time or Dune, but let me see if I can find this real quick.
We're surrounded by walls of books here, so it could take him a minute.
It might, yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
Wheel of Time would be a big one to do, and I don't know how you'd start
be.
to break it up, but
Yeah.
but with the series for that one coming out soon, or they've just started pre-production on it, and with the Dune movies coming out roughly a year from now, I think it's November of 2020. That might be a fun one to do, but it might be more fun to do it a little bit closer to the time the movie's coming out.
Sure. Kapla!
No, we're not going to do the Klingon dictionary.
Oh.
I was actually looking. I thought I had Scalzi's red shirts,
Oh.
but apparently I don't.
I don't know.
So that's basically a Star Trek-ish.
I haven't been curating
That
your library
follows-
lately, so
yeah. That kind of follows like this. It's basically like Lower Decks, the upcoming show on CBS All Access, where they kind of work with like this like security detail, and there's like this conspiracy that they find out that like the command staff is always setting up the red shirts to die. If I thought I had it, but that would have been maybe just a fun light 2 or 3 episode thing. So anyway.
But anyway, we'll brainstorm some things.
Yeah. So last time we left off, there was a fire in the fishery, and Kvothe actually
he missed his
braved the flame to save Fella from burning to death. She wanted to express some thanks, got him a nice cloak, and they're in the Aeolian, and she's like adjusting it, and Denna walks in and sees them, and the angle makes it look like she's embracing him.
Yep.
So that's where we kind of left off.
And Denna turns and leaves, and Kvothe can't find her.
So the first section that we're going to be covering is chapters
69 through
71.
Yep.
And we're calling it Staggering Coincidences because there are quite a few things that happen here that are just like...
It feels a little forced to
very
try to
interesting.
move him to
Yes.
particular points to
Yes.
make the story kind of fill out. Or to me it felt that way, but I don't know what you guys thought as you went through it. But
I would agree, and I think we'll get more into this as we go along.
Yeah.
Because there's certain instances that really seem a little bit too forced.
Yeah, just too coincidental. if you
Yep.
will.
Yeah. So we start off, and Kvothe is going into Imre because he's trying to find Denna. He needs to explain that it wasn't what she thought she saw, and that there's nothing going on.
Yeah, because I think they had a date planned, didn't they? And because of the fishery fire, he missed it.
Even though Rothfuss makes a point to let us know that Kvothe finds Fella attractive.
Oh yeah,
a lot.
Mhm.
So.
And that she had man hands,
Right.
but
Yeah.
or calloused, strong hands,
Right,
from doing
yeah.
work in the fishery. But regardless,
And so I think he was at the Aeolian talking to Diak.
yeah.
And on the way back, he is surprised by 2 thugs.
Yes.
I remember reading this, and like he's like, "Oh, back in my Tarbean days, I never would have been caught unawares like this. I've become soft." But over the course of the attack, he finds out that they're not just thugs.
That they were hired to kill him.
Yeah.
They have a knife. They
They grazed him with the knife and drew blood and tore his shirt, and then
and they had some
They had
device
like
that was sympathetic that was like
because they had
tracking him.
like a hair, I think,
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
Figured out.
Because they said they'd lost him 3 times already or
Yeah.
something like that. So
But because he'd been in Imre, he'd done a few things other than look for Denna specifically. So he had some, was it magnesium shavings or something that he had purchased earlier? So so he used his sympathetic binding to ignite the magnesium and blind at least one of them pretty severely. And
and he was able to kind of get away. I don't think that he was able to get away with the device that they were using to track him.
Right. And that's why
he was looking for it.
Right. Well, that's when, because once he got away, then he strap, take hairs from his head and attach them to leaves and let them blow in the wind, so that it would look like he scattered many different ways. And then he also took his shirt from where they cut him and
because
tucked it into a wine bottle and put it down the river.
Yeah. So, but he. He has a pretty rough night, just from getting beat up and sliced, and he goes down.
Well, he gets back to his hotel or his room at the Anchors, and he finds the note from Denna in the window.
That's right. And that's where he realizes that she wrote 3 span ago.
Yeah, but then he doesn't. It's kind of fuzzy because all of a sudden, he doesn't stay at Anchors. He ends up in some hotel down by the waterfront in Imre because he's hiding out.
He's afraid that whoever was after him is going to come finish the job. But he's feeling better the next morning, and he goes down and he eats some breakfast, and he overhears these two, I don't know if they're merchants or sailors or whatever, but they're talking about this wedding up in Trabon. Trabon from the audiobook.
Trabon.
So,
but I'm good with
Trabon. Basically, they're talking about how everyone was slaughtered, and there was
blue fire.
And that kind of gets his attention.
So that kind of turns his attention from the attempted murder to, I'm going to go look for Chandrian.
So, and this is the part to me that felt a little forced. Because it's
he
all of a sudden
quickly
he's
shifted gears.
Oh, I'm going to just abandon everything I've been working for. I need to borrow 20 talents from
I need
Denna,
to trade everything I have or put up everything I have as collateral to get a loan so I can get a horse and get...
Because on the outside chance there might be something to see,
or someone
in
to talk
24 to 36 hours.
Yeah.
So this is the part that when you said things seem forced, that my mind went to. It's him just uprooting himself and going.
Well, and just the coincidence that he happened to be in this inn at this point in time where they're talking about this incident in the north or north.
Here's what I thought was interesting. They said that it was, and later they say it's a 3 days journey up there. But how did word get down so fast that next morning?
Boats.
Was it boats?
They came.
They came off boats.
Yeah,
okay.
I thought the river was the fastest way to get there.
Yeah, but he had to go upstream, so he had to.
Yeah, and he had to book passage.
So basically, his only recourse at this point is to go to Devi and ask for money for a good horse, so he can make the 60-mile journey in a day.
Yep. And he goes to Devi and she stitches him up and cleans him up a little bit.
And she had already heard what had happened, and she's like, "Yeah, I thought it was you."
Yeah.
And she agrees to help spread some rumors on his behalf, but he asks her for 22 talents or something like that?
It was something ridiculous,
something crazy.
But didn't he put up his loot, his
pipes,
his book, his pipes?
And she still said no, and he dangled this secret way into the archives.
Yeah, so if he finds it, a little more foreshadowing there, but
but I don't know. Devi is really interesting as a character.
I like her
there's
too.
There's more going on there, and it would be very interesting.
Well, the fact that she knows, she must have studied in the Medica, understands medicine on some level. She understands sympathy. She understands.
I mean, she stitched him up.
Yeah,
but she also took a vial of his blood to basically track him down should he default on his loan. And,
But it's interesting that she also is a dropout. She didn't actually finish and get her.
So she gives him the money, and he goes looking for a horse. And this is really interesting to me. It kind of reminded me, Matt from Wheel of Time. There's one chapter where he's trying to get a horse, and Robert Jordan is very in explicit detail of all the things Matt does to determine if this is a good horse or
Yeah.
a bad horse, or if the horse has any problems. And this kind of reminded me of that.
I vaguely remember that from Wheel of Time. It's
Yeah.
been years since
Yeah.
I've read that.
So
But I remember Matt and his whole, his way to talk himself
Mhm.
in and out of problems or in
Mhm.
and out of situations. And it did remind me of that. I mean, and Kvothe basically treats this stable master like, he's basically a jerk to him, almost like the noble son. And
but let's also be frank. He came in there. He says, "I'm not going to deal.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I want this horse. I want the fastest one you have, and I will pay you for
Mhm.
it."
Mm-hmm.
And the stable master still
Trotted out a
tries to
couple
give
others
him
and,
crap
yeah.
horses, right?
Right.
So I
Yeah.
don't really blame him there.
And it was interesting, too, that the horse they ended up buying, it kind of goes to the naming of things, too, that he
Mhm.
names it in Shari. I think he thought he was naming it Twilight, but it actually translated to one sock.
Right.
And all of a sudden, the stable master came down on the price.
Right.
Because he thought he saw through the ruse that he'd painted the foot to look,
Yep.
so it looked like an all-black horse, and
Yeah.
it wasn't. But it kind of goes to Kvothe's ability to name things or use
Mhm.
names or
Yeah.
understand names and, unconsciously even.
Mhm.
Because it's happened before, and it,
Yeah.
not to spoil anything, but it happens again.
Hmm.
So,
It does.
Mhm.
Yeah. So he gets the horse for less than he was going to pay.
Yep.
Because I think the stable master came down further,
yeah.
but and he does put miles on that horse.
I thought the whole description of the ride was interesting, too. And I don't know anything about riding horses. I've
Mhm.
ridden twice, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But the whole, warming it up and not pushing it too hard at the beginning, and
Yeah, that was
how it's
interesting.
kind of crossing the street. It was
Yeah,
kind of an
yeah.
interesting passage in the book.
And they talk about having to go through one stream, and if they had to go through a second or a third,
Mhm.
he wouldn't be able to get the horse warmed back up
Right.
sufficiently to ride it
Oh,
hard
yeah.
and things like that. So that was really interesting.
I like that part a lot.
And I would imagine that's right.
I would think
Well,
so.
so just a brief side note, one of my favorite races that I've run is called Living History Farms. It's through through this old farm ground, and
It's
like
a cross-country race.
And so I remember when I ran, it was like 35 degrees, and then we had to cross through a stream that was running that
Mhm.
was obviously colder than the air,
Yeah.
and the inability to even move after you get out
Yeah.
of the creek. So
Yeah.
it was fun reading, like, clearly
Sure.
I
Rothfuss
hadn't thought
having...
about that because I ran that
Yeah.
race twice, and
It messes with you.
Yeah, because you do get chilled going through it, and you're gonna climbing up hills, and you're stiff, and it's
It really felt when I read this that Rothfuss actually did some study on horsing.
Yeah.
Like,
or he knows.
or he
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
knows it.
we
Yeah,
from
it was
Wisconsin. So maybe,
But as he
Maybe.
nears,
maybe it's cows, but dairy. I don't know.
all right, I'm pulling you in, guys.
All right,
Sorry.
all right,
Come on. As he nears Trabon, he encounters a tinker on the side of the road.
Oh yeah.
Tinker is in need of an animal because his donkey is all donked out,
Mm-hmm.
basically.
That's one way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
I have a way with naming things.
Yeah, you do. He does.
I'm convinced after this interaction and what we see further downstream that are tinkers clairvoyant? Are they able to
I don't
see?
know, because they must hold some knowledge, or there's,
Yeah.
because he holds them in high regard, because he
Mhm.
says something about I would never lie, to a
Mhm.
tinker, and
Yeah.
he's negotiating because he's gonna sell him the horse.
Well, and that might have just been because he's Adamaru,
Adamaru, yeah.
Yeah.
however you say that, and there might be just
Adama from
right, yeah. But there might be some kind of like
right.
very sacred relationship.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it might be some of those old
Respect for fellow travelers
something
or something.
like that.
Yeah.
But he ends up trading him for some rope and a couple things in the Loden stone, wasn't it?
Right.
The big magnetic
It's a big
piece of rock, and,
big magnet, basically.
Mhm.
Yeah.
which comes in handy later.
But I mean, he does it under the guise that you can get top dollar for
Mhm.
this thing,
Mm-hmm.
because I
It's
think
worth a
he's
lot.
very upfront with the tinker. He's like, I have a debt to pay back. I cannot
Mhm.
give this thing away. It's a good
Yeah.
animal. Yeah, but he also tells the tinker tells him that, oh yeah, you're like a half mile from Trabon.
Mm-hmm.
It's just over the hill.
Yep, so
So they part. He goes into town. They're setting up for the Harvest Festival,
yeah.
which also plays a part later on.
Mm-hmm.
And He's asking about the wedding.
So he goes to the inn, doesn't he? And
Yes.
he's asking
Yeah,
about the
one
wedding.
inn, yeah.
And it just so happens that the one survivor from the wedding is
Well, and
in the upstairs room.
he goes with the story that
It's his cousin.
It's his
right?
cousin.
Mm-hmm.
His
He's
cousin
looking
was
for
at
his
the
cousin.
wedding, and he was hoping that somebody could tell him what had happened.
Right.
And it's like nobody wants to talk about this, so like there's one survivor upstairs.
So he goes upstairs.
And the last of the staggering coincidences.
This one is possibly the least believable.
Dun.
Right. It's Denna.
Wow.
Yeah. Bizarre.
Yeah, I mean that's. I understand he had to get both of them there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it's gonna the whole
Boy,
it just
that
felt so
seemed-
forced to get those two in the same point or
Right.
place at the same time.
Yes.
But
Which
then
brings
they're
us
reunited.
to our next segment. Reunited and it feels so fine.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. They so they chat and end up leaving the inn and like
I think Kvothe gives her the cover story that the university sent him up here to.
she does he does do that.
Investigate.
Yeah,
what had
but
happened.
the townsfolk like clearly don't trust or like her.
No. Well,
They
she was
they
the only
think she
survivor
had
at
something
this
to do
thing,
with it.
right?
Yeah.
And she was an outsider. and
Right.
Just, yeah.
Which I think is like a how do I want to say this? It's a because he makes a point of like saying how this is like very small, out of the way, backwoods village, right?
Yeah.
And just like that mistrust.
Yeah, because of the Harvest Festival, doesn't he see they're kind of backwoods-ish?
Yeah.
Or there's some
Yeah.
comment in there. That,
Well,
Right.
they talk for a while. They get into bumpkin as well, which you're backwoods when you're running into bumpkin folk.
Yeah.
Or pegs.
Eggs.
So
That's coming up.
Denna actually provides a reason why she's at the wedding.
Well, she'd found a patron.
Right.
And he booked her.
Or a potential patron, I guess,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And he booked her this gig at the wedding to play music for the wedding, wasn't it?
But she makes a point to say that she doesn't know or he will not tolerate her telling anyone about him.
Yeah.
He has tested her several
Don't
times.
think he ended up calling him
And-
Master Ash or
Yeah,
something.
but-
It's a kind of a joke
but
name
it's
something.
and I'm reading that and just like red flags. I'm like, oh, no, something's going on.
Yeah. So is he one of the Chandrian?
Well, and this is also after Devi. I think what was it? Devi who was telling. Oh, maybe it was Diak. Was that women have it a lot harder when it comes to traveling and like
Diak.
they're kind of at the
Yeah.
whim of their patrons or whoever else they run across, and so instantly I'm kind of tripped. A flag is tripped where it's like, all right, there's something that must be wrong with this guy.
Yeah.
Because they just clued us in 2
Yeah.
chapters ago.
And
Right.
there's some stuff that comes up later that just makes you kind of wonder about him too.
Yeah.
So they end up leaving the inn and they head up to the farm, to Mothin Farm, I think it was called,
Mm-hmm.
and do some investigation. Don't really find much from what I remember,
Not
other than
not at
everything's
first
kind of
glance.
burned and
Yeah.
and all that good stuff. And what is it? He talks about, I got your note, but I'm sorry I didn't get it sooner. So they do a lot of like catching up, and then that's when he makes up the story about why he's there from
Right.
the university.
Yeah.
But I don't recall anything major that happened when they were back at the farm.
No, they really didn't find a whole lot.
No.
But they did find a pig farmer.
They did. A peg farmer? Pegs.
Hey, peg.
So yeah, they go down like along the river and find the pig farmer. They bought a small pig and
It's
roasted him
interesting.
for lunch.
I think the gentleman that reads the audiobook did a great job with
really?
this because
And I haven't listened to the
when
audiobook,
he
but-
starts talking in the pig farmer's voice, it's nearly indistinguishable.
Oh yeah.
And as Kvothe says, well, the more I speak in this accent, the more understandable it gets.
Mhm.
He starts to transition so you can actually
really?
understand it a lot.
That's cool.
So it was really well
Huh.
done. I thought that was really neat.
Interesting.
But basically, Kvothe is able to mimic the accent to gain the trust
Right.
of this pig farmer, and they sit down and they talk, and he's got like a bottle of brand, and cook up a little piglet, and they have a meal.
But doesn't Denna start to try to talk in the same accent? And
she does,
kind of,
like
it's
it starts
somewhat
out
successful.
a little off, but she like
Picks
corrects
it up
almost
pretty
immediately,
quickly,
which is
yeah.
also interesting.
Yep.
But
So
basically,
they have their nice romantic meal. They find some waystones to set up camp, and
the pig farmer does say something about the blue
oh,
flame,
that's right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Blue flame to the north only 2 nights ago.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's the way they end up going. They set up camp by these waystones with a view of the...
looking north, wasn't it?
Mhm.
And they do...
So... But didn't, in the course of the discussion with the pig farmer, didn't they come to a conclusion on the farm, and didn't they go make a return trip?
They realized that something was dug up.
Like a barrows.
That's right, yeah, that the farmer had dug something up
Yeah.
at some point that may have been kind of the catalyst that began all these things happening.
Right. Because the barrows are located more towards the coast, and they're a long ways away from there.
Yeah.
So what is really going on here?
Yeah, that's true. I'd forgotten.
And I think that's where they go back to the farm, and that's where like they notice things like the wood rotten,
yeah,
and the iron
other
completely
signs
rusted out, and that like triggers like this flashback for Kvothe, and all of a sudden he's like, "Oh crap!"
Yeah, the Chandrian were there.
Yeah. But yeah, they do go
but
with a view to that hillside, and they make a camp by the
camp, and then during the night they do see the blue flame on the hillside, and I can't remember who.
Just a couple flashes, and then nothing, and then like one of them stays up while the other gets some sleep.
And
but
they still got their campfire, and
they awaken to a sound of something huge, like
thunder is kind of coming through the brush, and so they scramble to the top of the waystone or climb up one of the waystones to get out of the way, and
it's a dragon.
Well, Denna thinks it's a dragon.
But this is where Rothfuss takes us back to an interlude, and so Kvothe is like almost like pushing Chronicler to say there's no such thing as dragons.
Yeah, that was good.
But he won't bite.
No.
But we do find out it's a draccus.
Yep.
And Chronicler actually wrote the book on like the mating
habits of the common draccus,
I think.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's
which I believe he found in the archives, wasn't it?
Right. I think so.
There and
it's an herbivore. Doesn't really pose any danger.
Yep, and it basically comes in and like rolls through their campfire, and
they talk about this that something that breathes fire has to have like this natural instinct to put fire out, or they're just going to set everything on fire.
Yeah.
So there's
a lot of thought into I know that there was kind of some forcing of the story to get here, but I like that it's more of an animal than a magical creature or some so it kind of breaks the trope of these mystical dragons.
Yeah.
It's just it's a big herbivore that's looking to eat and put out fires.
Right.
It's like Smoking Bear.
Yeah.
Kind of, yeah.
Exactly.
Except much bigger and
scalier.
Actually, and
he's black, right? Wasn't the draccus black?
I kind of picture
black
like dark green.
It's black
yeah, or like dark gray or something.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But I have some thoughts. Maybe I'll share
I
next
thought you were going to ask if Smokey was black.
Maybe
I'm going to talk about those next week.
Can I share it next week?
Yeah, because I think we're kind of at the end of this section.
This is actually where we're stopping. So
awesome.
Put a pin in that shit, Brian.
I'll try my best to remember it next week.
Okay.
All right. We'll remind you if you
We will.
Oh,
yeah. So if you are interested in checking us out on social media, you can find us at TDW Podcast. That's on Instagram and Twitter. Facebook is facebook.com/TDW Podcast. Our email is tdwpodcast@gmail.com. We might have like this pattern thing going on here.
Yeah.
That's good. Should be easy to remember.
Yeah, we're trying to be consistent for all y'all.
Good naming convention.
I just said all y'all.
All y'all?
I don't know where that came from.
It was the peg farmer.
Pegs.
Yes, it was. If you like what you just saw and you want to participate in the discussion, we encourage you to do 2 things. Click that subscribe button. Leave us some comments. We do love to have some conversations and some interactions. We want to know what you think. We want to know what you liked, what you didn't like. If you didn't like something, just be gentle. Brian has a tender soul.
So sad.
And lastly, you can find us at our website, which is www.tardiscast.com. We will see you next week with a new episode. Thank you again, and have a great night.
Allons-y.